Do you think you're a compassionate person? What is compassion? And how is compassion different from just sympathy and empathy? That's what we're going to talk about next on this episode of the Driving with Rob podcast. Today's episode, I wanted to talk about compassion. And I did an earlier episode on the difference between sympathy and empathy, but there's a subtle difference between empathy and compassion. Do you consider yourself to be a compassionate person? Everybody likes to think they're compassionate. And to me, the perfect example of compassion are nurses and what nurses do, especially critical care nurses and those who work in nursing homes, and especially through my own personal experience, hospice nurses. To me, it takes a very, very special person to be a hospice nurse. And if you've never had to deal with the hospice organization before, hospice care is end-of-life care. People who have terminal cancer, people literally on their deathbed. The hospice nurses are the ones who come in to comfort those people. And to me, they are the epitome of compassion. But let's talk about compassion and empathy for a minute. The word empathy actually comes from a Greek root word, pathos, which means feelings or to feel. So if you have empathy for someone else, you not only feel sorry for them, but you kind of feel what they feel. You can put yourself in their shoes. You know what they're going through, and you have a deeper feeling than just plain sympathy. Compassion actually comes from a Latin word. As you can imagine, it has the word passion in it. It also has co in it. So to be compassionate or to have compassion literally means co-sufferer. Just from hearing those two words, co-suffering or co-sufferer, is not what you think. What I believe it means to be compassionate or to have compassion is an active word. To me, the difference between compassion and empathy is you not only feel what they are feeling, what the other person is feeling, but you actively take a part in easing their pain, easing their suffering. And I was doing a little research on my own just so I could keep it straight in my mind. What's the difference between compassion and empathy? And compassion is very similar to charity and charity work, because you not only feel the pain and feel the suffering of another person, you're actually taking an active role in doing something about it. But it's also different from empathy. People can be so empathetic and get so caught up in the feelings of others that if they're talking to someone who has deep depression, they'll become depressed themselves. But compassion, while you feel the pain of the other person, while you want to help the person to overcome that pain, you still maintain enough distance that you can make rational decisions and rational judgments. You've heard the old expression that someone was able to keep their head while everybody else was losing theirs. That's compassion. And you're immediately put in mind of emergency workers, firefighters, EMTs, nursing staff, police officers, people who can go into a bad situation and see what's going on, but to be able to still have enough distance that you can make rational, logical decisions. And like I said before, there is such a thing as too much empathy. If you go into a situation where someone is hysterical, you can go in and understand why they're hysterical. But if you become so pulled into their emotions that you become hysterical too, you can't really help them. And that's what compassion does, is it gives you enough detachment that you not only want to help, but you're able to help. And again, that's why, to me, the epitome of compassion is a hospice nurse. So when you think of compassion from its root words as co-sufferer or co-suffering, it kind of gives you the wrong impression of compassion. So to me, compassion is more like coming alongside someone and going with them through their suffering. So rather than being someone who suffers along with you, it's rather someone who goes with you as you suffer. Is really a better definition than a co-sufferer. That makes it sound like you're a partner in suffering. But this is rather a partner who helps you through your suffering, who can stay detached enough to make the decisions that need to be made to help you get through this tough time in your life or through this illness that you're having. I recently did a podcast episode called No Fear. How many times in the Bible, in the Old Testament and the New Testament, does the Lord say, "Fear not, be not afraid"? And that's what the whole No Fear episode was about. When you read, "Fear not, be not afraid," it's the Lord saying the reason you can go without fear is because I'm going with you. Have you ever gone with someone, especially a child, to a doctor's appointment, a dentist appointment, anything that makes them nervous? The thing that you say to them to comfort them, "It's okay. I'm right here. Don't be afraid. I'm going to be with you the whole time. I'm not going anywhere. Go ahead and sleep, and I'll be right here when you wake up." That's compassion. To say, I not only feel what you're feeling, I'm not only feeling your pain as if it were my own pain, I'm going to remain detached enough that I can help you through this pain. It's a subtle difference between feeling empathy for somebody and having compassion. But compassion says, just like the Lord does many, many times in Scripture, you don't need to worry. You don't need to be anxious. You don't need to be afraid, because I'm going with you. And that's going to wrap up this episode on compassion. Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading. And remember, when you're dealing with others, to show compassion. I'll talk to you next time. Bye now.